What's up, everybody? Welcome to B3 Hunting. You're in the tinkering room. It's where I like to do a lot of tinkering on all the bows. Whether it's my bow, Nate's bow, Nick's bow, Ryan's bow, anybody's bow, I do all the work in here. What we're going to do for you today is a little bit of arrow building. So come on, cut some arrows, fletch some arrows. I got to cut 12 arrows and fletch them up, get those ready for hunting season. Then I need to fletch up 6 of Nate's arrows that have already been cut and had inserts glued into them. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into it. Let's cut some arrows. These are my hunting arrows, so I'm going to take an arrow from last year. I'm just going to run the same length shaft. 28.5. So we're going to adjust this to 28.5. Now that we're getting into the hunting season, don't need to be building 3D arrows anymore. This year, I am running Rip TKOs, 300 spine. I typically buy all my arrows bare shaft, so I can do. It's a lot easier to fletch that way. You don't really have anything to clean up, essentially. With Nate's arrows, he bought them pre-fletched, so I will have to clean these up a little bit, which is no problem, but we'll get them fletched up. So let's get into it. Take all these inserts out. I do run these standard aluminum outserts from Victory. I've never had a single issue with them. I know a lot of guys will say that they have. I personally, I haven't yet. Now granted, like I said, I have been shooting these arrows for 3 months now, and I haven't used them on a live animal, but shooting target, I've had 0 complaints. So we're just gonna run them. These around. Okay. Cutting arrows, for those of you who don't know, what you do is you take your nock end, you put it in, and you're just going to apply slight pressure, and as you cut this arrow, you're going to slowly rotate it until it's completely cut through. Then you're going to take it out. I use the G5 jig, and all you do is you throw it in there, slide it up against this end, which has grit paper on it, and you just rotate it ever so slightly. It'll clean up all those burr ends and flush up the end of the arrow for you. But that, we'll do that at the end. So, we'll start with this guy. Confirm. I do want to go 28.5. Last year I was running the Easton 5mm axis, 50 grains of brass up front. Solid arrow choice. Just wanted to change it up a little bit this year. Drop it down in the comments. LOL JK. Start with 6. But I mean, you saw how quick that was. I had 6 arrows cut in 2 minutes, less than 2 minutes. And like I said, all you do is you take the cut end, and I don't know if you can see inside that shaft all the burrs, a little bit of an edge on the outside, but all you're going to do is you're going to apply it into the jig, little pressure, and just a square rotation, and it should be a clean arrow. Now normally what I have been told and what I probably will end up doing is if you take a silver Sharpie and you color the inside of the shaft, as you do this, you know you're square when all that Sharpie is gone. It's one way we can do it, which I don't think I have a Sharpie out here. I don't, so we're just gonna have to eye it for now. Pressure and a rotation. You want to make sure you get all this stuff, otherwise, especially with an outsert, otherwise that outsert it will not slide on. Alright, once you're done there, everything should be nice and clean. Have a good edge to it. You shouldn't feel anything on the end of the arrows. I'll hit this one a little bit more. But that brings us to the gluing process of these inserts. A couple ways you can do it. You can use regular super glue, or you can use this bubble gum stuff, what I like to call it. It's a stronger epoxy. If you end up using this, you gotta let your arrows sit for 24 hours before you shoot them. That way you just get a solid bond. You don't have to worry about your outserts pulling off or anything. But before we get to that, one thing I do like to do, just take a rag or a powder cloth or something and just wipe the end of the arrows down. Get all the carbon residue off of it from cutting it. You don't have to use any alcohol or anything, just wipe them down. I mean, you can see there's really nothing on them, but it's just better to be safe than sorry. Okay, now with that, going a step further, a lot of guys will take a Q-tip and clean the outside or the inside of these shafts, get all that stuff out of there. I'm not too worried about it. So all we're going to do is we're going to get this glue heated up, get these glued on, and show you the process. So I use this Boning Super Cool Flex for my inserts. I don't ever super glue. When you use this, you do need to let your arrow sit for 24 hours horizontally. That way the glue has time to bond to the arrow and everything. So we're just going to do these three really fast. I went ahead and did these already. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your torch and you're just going to heat this up ever so slightly. Basically till it's liquidy. Then you're going to take your outsert and just roll it on nice and liberally. Got a little carried away on that one. If this stuff ever gets too hot to the point where you can't touch it with your bare hands, you're heating it up way too much. But once it's on there, it gets tacky. So I just reheat it up. And then you just slide it into the arrow. And then just take your finger and wipe it off. And then let it cool, and then you come back and all this excess glue will come off. Alright, just got the last one done. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to let those sit for a while. We're going to fletch up Nate's arrows, which he is shooting the same thing as I am this year. So we got to clean these up a little bit, and then we're going to refletch them. I'll show you how to do that, or how I do it. The easiest way I do it, or the easiest for me to do it, is I'll take a little bit of nail polish remover, just a couple cotton squares. Let's do a light douse of nail polish remover, and just wipe the end of the shaft down. It's literally all you got to do. Gets all the factory glue off. Pretty easy, pretty quick. Normally, when you're defletching arrows, you use an arrow stripper. I just use the little boning one. It does alright. A lot of times you got to take a knife to the glue when you're done. The main thing is not to dig into the shaft of the arrow or hit the knock. A lot of times I'll take the knock out, but these fletchings came off pretty easily. I was actually able to rip them off with my finger. So I don't know if Victory had a bad batch of glue, but all you got to do is just wipe the shafts down. Apply a little bit of pressure, a little elbow grease, should be fine. I mean, you'll see that's all glue, carbon. Apply a little more here. Don't need a lot. But once it starts getting dry, just reapply it. So last one. Okay. And then what I like to do is just take a dry pad and run it down. It helps with the drying process, gets all the stuff that you potentially wiped off and that you didn't pick up originally. Okay, that's 6 arrows ready to be fletched. So we'll get them in the jig, get them glued up. Then Nate, come on in here and pick out your fletchings. I run a lot of Max Stealth. This year I'm probably going to run the Blazers, just the crispy edition, and then I got Pro Hunters. I know when we talked last, you wanted to run the Pro Hunters.
Yep.
My stock's really low on color choices, so you got red and white, or we can do a little bit of both.
Mix them.
Mix them.
Yeah.
And we are going with the 4 fletch.
4 fletch.
Okay.
Yep. Shooting fixed blade.
Okay. Because we're doing a 4 fletch, we are going to run the Bitzenberg jig. Super simple jig. Let me get all my materials down here. So, when I fletch arrows, what I like to do is get a couple out that I'm going to use right away. And we're running red and white. What I do, grab a paper plate, that way they have something clean to sit on. And I'll just take the Max E primer pen, prime it, and then I'll take the fletchings and just clean them up really quick. Get them ready for the glue. Sometimes these are smaller fletch, so a lot of times I'll just take a couple of them, throw them in the jig, and then I'll just run the primer up and down them. Then I'll just dump them out, let them dry, get the next two ready. Great vane choice, by the way. Really good flight control, really stabilizes the arrow, especially when you are running a fixed blade. I typically shoot mechanicals. Leave a comment down below. Let us know what you're running this year for arrow setup, vanes, and broadheads. It's always fun to know what everyone uses. But while those are drying, just go ahead and do a couple more here. With the Bitzenberg, it is one fletch at a time. So these do take a little longer to fletch these arrows with this jig, but it's not the end of the world because right now time is our friend. Fletching arrows is the least favorite thing I do, tinkering on a bow. A lot of times I'll plug the radio in and jam out to some music and drink a beer. So what I do is I typically run my fletch second to last notch from the rear. Nate, I'm assuming you're okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So what we're gonna do, get our arrow knocked into the jig. So the nice thing with these Rip TKOs is they are spine aligned. So up here on the 300, there's a little yellow extra paint. That means that's the spine alignment of this arrow. So I always start with that as my first fletch. So we'll rotate this back around to where that's on top. And we should be good. And these have been primed, they've been drying, so we're good to go. And you just take the way I do it is I do 3 dots. One at the end, one in the middle, one at the end, and then I'll just take the pen or the glue tip and I'll just run it down. No air pockets is what we're looking for. Then you just apply it to the shaft. And apply pressure for about 5 seconds. And you should be able to pull it off and rotate it. Do it again. And then run the vane. Little glue is our friend in this. You don't need a lot. The least amount of glue you use, the better you are. I don't know if you guys get picky about the mess on the arrow shaft. It'll leave a white residue. Super easy to clean off. typically I don't worry about it, but like I said, the least amount of glue the better. And there you have it. You got a 4-fletched arrow. Then I'll take it one step further, and I'll put a small bead in the front. And a small bead in the back. This just helps with 3D shooting, shooting into regular bags, anything. Just gives it a little bit of solidification at the front, that way the veins don't rip off as they make penetration into the target. But that's a fletched arrow, so now we just need to let that dry. Using this glue, about 10-15 minutes, and then you can go outside and shoot. I recommend waiting longer, but if you're in a hurry, you can shoot within 15 minutes of fletching these arrows up. That's just a quick video rundown of how I like to cut arrows and build them for not just myself, but the guys in the group. I do a lot of tinkering for everybody. I'm not the best at it, but I am proficient, and we get a lot of stuff done with it. With that being said, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for checking the channel. Everything I use today, I'll have a link down in the bottom. We'll catch you on the next one.